Stop for a moment. This is not random. It may feel like this moment found you for a reason. Something about this moment may be drawing your attention, and it may matter more than you think. There are moments in life that never repeat, and this could be one of them. Don't scroll past it. Don't ignore it. What you're about to hear could mark an important turning point if you're willing to stay and listen. Minutes may seem small to you, but heaven has never measured time the way you do. In a single moment, seas parted, chains fell, and lives were transformed. One step of faith from Peter placed him on water. One yes from Mary carried eternity. Do not measure this moment by its length, measure it by its weight. This is where paths divide, where delay becomes destiny, or destiny slips into regret. This interruption is not random, it is precise. If something in these words resonates with you, take a quiet moment and reflect on it. Sometimes awareness begins with a single, honest pause. It is precise. You asked for direction, and now clarity stands before you, not hidden, not delayed, but unmistakably present. Many will hear and move on, but some will pause, sensing something deeper beneath the surface. If you are still here, it is because something within you recognizes the call, even if you cannot explain it. Do not silence that knowing. Comfort has held you long enough. I move not when you feel ready, but when the moment is right. Faith has never required full understanding, only a willing heart. Abraham moved without a map. Moses spoke with trembling words, yet their obedience opened what hesitation never could. This moment asks for response not later, not when life feels easier, but now. Silence is a choice. Delay is a choice, but so is surrender. Even the smallest yes at the right time can shift everything. What you feel right now is not fear, it is weight, it is nearness. It is the space between promise and fulfillment narrowing. Stay here, do not drift. What comes next may feel very different depending on how you respond to this moment. This moment you are standing in was never accidental. It did not appear out of curiosity or coincidence. It was seen, held, and set in place long before you understood time itself. Before Jeremiah was formed, it was written, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you," Jeremiah 1-5. In the same way, this intersection of your life and this message may hold more meaning than you first realized. What feels like a pause is not delay, it is design. This is not something you stumbled upon, it is something that reached for you. Like Saul on the road to Damascus, interrupted when he least expected it, you are not here by your own timing. You may be here because this moment has interrupted your path and invited you to pause and reflect. You may think you arrived here by scrolling, by chance, by passing curiosity, but there may be deeper things happening beneath the surface that you have not fully recognized yet. Moments where noise is parted, where distractions lose their grip, where attention is captured for a reason. When something within you suddenly becomes still, it is not random, it is intentional. This is not about inspiration that fades with the next hour. This is not words meant to comfort you back into routine. This is a turning point, quiet but weighty. A moment that challenges the patterns you have grown used to, the delays you have learned to tolerate, the compromises you have called wisdom. Because truth does not always come gently. Sometimes it arrives as a disruption. Jesus stood in the temple and overturned tables, not out of anger without purpose, but to confront what had been misplaced. In the same way, this moment confronts what has settled too comfortably in your life. There are times when the voice is soft, drawing you closer, and there are times when it breaks through everything else, demanding that you stop, look up, and listen. You are not in a quiet whisper, now you are in a moment that requires your full attention. You can feel it, can't you? This moment carries a different weight. Even if your body is tired, something within you is awake, alert, unsettled, aware that this is not ordinary. Many things have passed quietly through your life, unnoticed, unchallenged. But this is where you are asked to stop. Because when a moment interrupts you like this, it is not for observation, it is for movement. Not someday, not when everything feels easier, but sooner than you expected. Scripture reminds us, now is the time of God's favor, now is the day of salvation, 2 Corinthians 6:2. There is always a now attached to purpose. God has always worked within moments. David faced Goliath in a single encounter. Esther stepped forward in one decisive hour. A moment, when answered, can carry more weight than years of hesitation. Never measure a moment by its size. Measure it by what it holds. What you are being given right now is space. Space to recognize, to respond, to realign before everything begins to shift. This is not pressure meant to overwhelm you. It is grace making room for you. A slowing down before acceleration. A pause before movement. Understand this clearly. Fear freezes, but truth stabilizes. This is not noise, and it is not vague. It is clear, because clarity leaves no place for excuses. You once asked for direction, for a sign that could not be ignored. Sometimes that answer does not arrive as comfort, it arrives as interruption. And here is the tension you must face. The temptation to delay. To listen now, but act later. Yet history is full of moments lost to later. Felix trembled when he heard the truth, yet said, "Go away for now. When I have a convenient time, I will call for you." Acts 24-25. That convenient time never came. Later feels safe because it costs nothing today. But purpose is never built in delay, it is formed in response. You are not being pushed in fear, you are being drawn in urgency. And there is a difference. Fear speaks of loss. Urgency reveals value. And this moment, this very moment, is valuable. That is why what comes next matters so deeply. You have carried burdens longer than they were ever meant to stay. Over time, delay became familiar, and what once felt temporary slowly turned into your normal. You learned how to keep going without clear answers, how to exist without movement, how to settle into waiting without realizing how much it was shaping you. But surviving is not the same as being aligned. And you were not created just to endure, you were created to move with purpose. This moment is not interruption without reason. It is redirection with intention. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens. Ecclesiastes 3:1. And your season is shifting. Your weariness, your questions, your quiet desire for something more, none of it is random. It all converged here for a reason. Like Elijah, who heard God not in the wind or fire, but in a gentle whisper, 1 Kings 19:11, 1-2. You are being drawn to recognize a voice that calls you out of what you've grown used to. This is not about your past, it is about what lies ahead. What is coming requires a different posture, a different readiness of heart. You cannot step forward while holding tightly to patterns that kept you standing still. Habits do not break on their own. They are broken when truth interrupts them. And this moment is doing exactly that. Before movement comes alignment. Before doors open, hearts are steadied. Before acceleration, there is focus. Even Jesus withdrew to quiet places before stepping into what was next. Luke 5:16. Stillness is not absence, it is preparation. If you rush past this, you may still move, but without clarity. And movement without clarity often leads to unnecessary struggle. That is why this pause matters. You are not being forced, you are being made aware. Choice remains yours. I have set before you life and death, now choose life. Deuteronomy 30-19. Awareness is being placed in your hands, and what you do with it becomes your response. Do not mistake delay for freedom. True freedom is choosing alignment when truth becomes clear. Delay is avoiding that choice by pretending this moment is smaller than it is. You may feel resistance, rising thoughts telling you this is too much, too serious, too demanding. But that resistance is not a warning, it is a sign. It means something real is touching the places where comfort has kept you still. Comfort resists change. But comfort was never meant to lead you, And when God leads, He sometimes stops you first, so you will finally look up and listen. So stay here. Do not rush past this. Let this moment speak. Let it awaken what has been quiet for too long, because your life is not drifting, it is being guided. This interruption may be a reminder that what lies ahead deserves your full attention. Listen closely, because this reaches deeper than you expect. There is a place within you that delay has quietly guarded, a place where you have convinced yourself that waiting is wisdom. It sounds careful. It feels responsible. But beneath it, something else has been growing. You have learned to say, "Not yet." Not because there was no direction, but because moving forward felt heavier than staying still. Fear did not shout, it whispered caution. And over time, caution began to lead. But fear was never meant to guide you. You have told yourself that one day you will step out fully. One day you will trust without hesitation. One day you will act without doubt. Yet that one day has remained distant, close enough to comfort you, but far enough to cost you nothing. This is the quiet illusion of delayed obedience, because obedience that is always postponed does not stay neutral. It slowly becomes resistance, hidden behind patience. Faith is not measured by what you intend to do. It is revealed in what you choose to do when the moment arrives. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. James 2:17. Waiting does not strengthen courage if it is feeding hesitation. Fear does not fade when it is accommodated, it deepens. Think of the Israelites standing at the edge of the promised land. The door was open, the promise was clear, yet fear made them step back. Numbers 13:14. That moment did not disappear, but it did not return the same way. Opportunities move with seasons. There have been invitations in your life, quiet ones, gentle ones, where the path opened just enough for you to step forward. But because it did not feel safe, you paused, not out of rebellion, but uncertainty. And still, those moments passed, not because love was withdrawn, but because time moved forward. Delay always carries a cost, even when it feels reasonable. Comfort, though gentle, can slowly become a boundary you never intended to build. What once felt like protection can quietly turn into limitation. Comfort does not announce itself as a prison. It feels stable, predictable, controlled. But over time, it reduces what you believe is possible. And now, those walls are being challenged. Purpose does not wait for emotions to settle. Calling does not pause until fear disappears. If it did, nothing meaningful would ever begin. Throughout Scripture, God has always moved through people who felt unprepared. Gideon called himself the least, Judges 6:15. Yet he still stepped forward, because readiness is not born from certainty, it is born from trust. Certainty seeks control, but trust knows how to release it. You are not being asked to understand everything before you move. You are being invited to trust enough to take the step, even when clarity feels incomplete. Because true readiness is not something you feel before you begin. It is something that forms as you move. And that is why stillness can be misunderstood, because you have often mistaken stillness for alignment, as if peace must come before movement. But true alignment does not always begin in calm. It often begins in tension. It can feel like stepping into unfamiliar ground, like stretching beyond what feels safe, like moving forward while your heart is still catching up. That does not mean God is distant. It often means He is leading. If you look back honestly, there were moments when you felt the nudge to speak, to act, to release what you were holding, but you waited for the feeling to settle, for the path to feel easier. Yet, feelings were never meant to lead you. They follow obedience, not precede it. And while you waited, the moment quietly passed. Not every missed moment was meant to be lost, but some were, simply because they were delayed. This is not being revealed to bring regret, but clarity. Delay rarely announces itself as defiance. It sounds reasonable, it feels careful, it presents itself as wisdom. But beneath it, there is often fear, fear of failure, fear of exposure, fear of stepping into the unknown, and now that fear is being confronted. You have said you want peace before you move, but often peace comes after the step is taken. You have waited for confidence before obedience, yet confidence is built through obedience. You have searched for certainty before action, but certainty is often revealed along the way. Consider Joshua standing before the Jordan. The waters did not part. While he waited, the river opened. When the priests stepped in, Joshua 3:13, movement came first, then the path. If everything depended on how ready you feel, you would remain where you are far longer than necessary. What is meant to grow through you would remain delayed with you. This is not pressure, it is clarity. You are not being pushed in fear, but called forward with purpose. What you feel rising within you is not anxiety, it is awareness. It is the recognition that staying where you are is no longer sustainable. That awareness is discernment. Trust in this moment does not mean acting recklessly. It means choosing God over the need to feel secure first. It means saying yes, even if your hands are unsteady, trusting that strength will meet you as you move. God has never asked for perfection before the step, only willingness within it. Faith is not standing still until courage arrives. Faith is moving while courage is being formed. Peter did not feel ready when he stepped out of the boat. He stepped, and then he discovered what faith could hold. Matthew 14:29. You are not behind because you felt fear. You are only delayed if fear continues to decide for you. This moment is not about how long it took you to arrive. It is about what you choose now that you are here. The illusion of someday ends here. Because someday does not arrive on its own, it is created by what you do today. Let go of the belief that you must feel ready before you move. Release the need for emotional certainty. God is present in the uncertainty, near in the discomfort, and faithful in the step you take toward Him. Trust now, not when it feels easier, not when everything settles, not when fear disappears. Trust while your heart is still learning how. Because readiness is not something you wait for. It is something that meets you on the way forward. There has been a quiet countdown unfolding around you, one you could not see, not because you were careless and not because you lacked worth, but because not all movement happens where the eyes can measure. You count time in days and years, but God moves in seasons, in alignment, in the readiness of the heart. While life seemed unchanged on the surface, something deeper was already shifting beneath it. What you once called silence was not absence, it was preparation. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Stillness was not emptiness, it was a space where something was forming, even when you could not trace it. Time in God's hands does not rush, but it never drifts. It moves with purpose. Every season carries an ending, and every ending carries a decision. This is not spoken to stir fear, but to awaken awareness. Because there were earlier moments. Moments when the door was open wider than you realized. Moments when grace flowed gently, when the invitation was soft, almost easy to miss. You felt it, a quiet stirring, a thought that lingered, a sense that something needed to change, that may not have been random. It may have been a meaningful inner prompting. God has always spoken in ways that do not overwhelm at first. He spoke to Samuel in the night, 1 Samuel 3-4. Not with force, but with a call that required attention. In the same way, those subtle nudges you felt were not random. They were mercy, giving you space to respond without pressure. Sometimes the voice came as restlessness you could not shake. Sometimes as dissatisfaction with what once felt sufficient. Sometimes as delays that forced you to pause and reconsider. Even repeated patterns were speaking, inviting you to notice what had not yet changed. None of that was punishment. It was invitation. But some invitations were overlooked. Others were recognized, yet postponed. You told yourself you would return when things felt clearer, when life slowed down, when the cost seemed smaller, and still, grace remained near. Yet, understand this with clarity. Grace is generous, but it is not without rhythm. It opens doors, but it does not push you through them. It waits, but it does not wait endlessly. Seasons move forward, and when they do, the way God speaks often changes with them. What once came as a whisper may return as a firm call, not out of anger, but out of purpose. Because if every moment felt the same, growth would never require response, and if response was never required, obedience would lose its meaning. God honors your freedom too deeply to remove the weight of choice. And now, this moment carries a different tone. This is not the beginning of a call, it is the clarity that follows many calls. Not the first invitation, but the moment where invitation becomes decision. Like Noah, who was given time to build before the rain came. Genesis 6:13, 2:2. There are seasons of preparation, and then there are moments when movement begins. This is that kind of moment, not an ending in loss, but a threshold before change. And once you reach a threshold like this, it is no longer only about hearing, it is about responding. You have already heard. You have already sensed. There has been a knowing within you, quiet but persistent. Now the question is not whether you understand it, is whether you will move from that understanding. Feel the weight of this moment, not as pressure, but as purpose. This is not meant to diminish you, it is meant to remind you that your life carries significance. Today, if you hear His voice, do not harden your hearts. Hebrews 3:15. There is always a today attached to response. What you feel right now is not condemnation. It is truth drawing closer. Condemnation pushes you away in shame, but truth invites you forward with clarity. It may stir memories, moments you wish had unfolded differently, but do not let regret take what awareness is trying to give you. Regret looks backward and holds you still, but awareness looks ahead and gives you movement. You are not being asked to relive what has passed. You are being invited to recognize what still stands before you. This is not exposure meant to shame you. It is revelation meant to prepare you. You have felt it, the shifting, the restlessness, the sense that what once felt stable no longer satisfies. Paths that once seemed clear now feel uncertain. Answers that once held weight now feel empty. That is not confusion. That is transition. When God prepares to move someone forward, He often loosens their grip on what is familiar, not to punish but to release. Like Abraham, called to leave what he knew without seeing what was ahead. Genesis 12:1. You are being drawn away from what is comfortable into what is purposeful. Grace has carried you through many moments. Now truth is sharpening your vision. This is not contradiction, it is growth. God remains patient, but patience does not mean endless delay. It means giving you what is needed at the exact moment it matters most. And right now, what you need is clarity. The time of gentle nudges is giving way to decisive steps, not because grace has ended, but because readiness has arrived. God is not standing at a distance, waiting for failure. He is near, ready to guide every step you are willing to take. This is not rejection, it is invitation, a moment where heaven speaks clearly. You see, you understand, now choose. You are not being pushed into danger, you are being called out of delay. Every past moment, whether used or missed, has brought you here, and none of it disqualifies you. It teaches you, because wisdom is not built on perfection, it is built on recognition. And you are recognizing now. Do not let the weight of this moment turn into fear. Let it become focus. Let it become reverence. Let it become willingness. You are not too late, but you are too aware to pretend this does not matter. This is the line between knowing and doing, between hearing and acting, between invitation and movement. And this moment can feel especially personal and clear, as though truth is drawing nearer to your heart. So hear this moment, not with hesitation, but with courage, because this is not the end of something. It is the moment where a new response begins. And when you look back, you may realize there are chapters of your life you once labeled as loss, delay, or emptiness, but they were never empty. They were forming you in ways you could not yet recognize. What felt like stillness was not absence of progress. It was hidden preparation. God was closer than you realized, working beneath the surface where your eyes could not reach. The Lord was with Joseph, even in the prison. Genesis 39-21. Even in places that looked like setbacks, something was being shaped with purpose. Preparation rarely feels like advancement. More often, it feels like endurance, like standing still while everything else seems to move ahead. But nothing you carried, nothing you endured, was without meaning. Every quiet tear, every unspoken prayer, every moment you kept going when strength felt thin, it was seen. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. Psalm 56-8. What felt unseen was never unnoticed. There were nights you questioned yourself, wondering why things felt heavier than expected. But those moments were not signs of abandonment, they were moments of formation. God was not distant. He was shaping you carefully, strengthening you where no one else could see. There were seasons of isolation that felt confusing, even painful. But isolation was not rejection, it was refinement. It removed the noise so you could discover what you truly depend on. It taught you how to stand without applause, how to trust without constant reassurance. That kind of strength is not learned in comfort. It is built in quiet perseverance. Delay was not punishment, it was space. Space for your capacity to grow, space for your character to deepen, space for your faith to shift from outcomes to trust. You thought you were waiting on God, but in many ways, He was preparing you to carry what you had been asking for. Because some things, if given too early, would break what was not yet ready to hold them. Even loss carried purpose. What felt like something taken from you was, in part, something shaping you. It created room for wisdom, for compassion, for discernment. You began to see differently, to feel more deeply, to understand beyond what ease could ever teach. God was not absent in your pain. He was present within it. Suffering does not mean failure. It often means formation. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Romans 5-3-4. Strength is not built by avoiding difficulty, but by walking through it with purpose. There were times you felt overlooked, when your faithfulness seemed unnoticed. You gave, you stayed, you endured without recognition. But none of it was wasted. Every quiet act of integrity, every moment you chose to remain soft instead of bitter, was building something lasting within you. These were not small things. They were foundations. Each season carried its own lesson. Isolation taught you to listen. Delay taught you patience without losing hope. Confusion taught you to seek God beyond certainty. And none of it was random. Looking back, many of those moments may carry more meaning than you realized at the time. Even when you felt uncertain, even when you felt overlooked, God was still working with precision. What you have become through those seasons is not accidental. It is preparation for what comes next. If this message spoke to you, carry it with you today, and if you feel led, share it with someone who may need this reminder as well. Heavenly Father, thank you for every moment you have used to shape me, even the ones I did not understand. Thank you for the delays that protected me, the silence that formed me, and the struggles that strengthened me. Help me to see my past, not with regret, but with clarity, knowing that nothing was wasted in your hands. Give me the courage to respond in this moment. Teach me to trust you beyond my feelings, beyond my fear, beyond my need for certainty. Help me to release delay and step into alignment with what you are calling me to do. Strengthen my heart to move forward, even when I feel unready. Remind me that you are with me in every step, guiding, steadying, and leading me into what you have prepared. I choose to trust you now. Amen.